right, welcome back, and let's dive into the lucid dreaming section of this. Um, so many people don't really understand what lucid dreaming is. Um, we all dream pretty much every night, whether you remember that or not. Most people think that they don't dream because they hardly ever remember their dreams, but we actually all dream every night. And there's different kinds of dreams, and there's different levels of dream state and sleeping states. Um, but when we are actually lucid dreaming, it means that we are aware in the dream that we are dreaming. Um, this doesn't mean that after you dream and you are awake, you realize that was a dream. That is pretty obvious at that point. What this means is in the dream, at some point, you are aware that you are dreaming in that moment. Um, this is something that is a skill. So this can be developed and practiced. There are very specific things that you can do to increase lucid dreaming, and we'll go over those. I just want to tell you why it was important for me and why it might be important for you to develop the skill of being able to lucid dream. So, for years and years, ever since I was young, actually, I've had very vivid nightmares. I've been very careful my entire life to not watch horror films or expose myself to things that typically are known to produce nightmares. I'm pretty careful about what I expose myself to. But for some reason, I was having these really intense nightmares. I would go through cycles. So for a period of time, I was having these nightmares where I would be being being chased by large animals. So there was times I was being chased by bulls, tigers, bears, you name it, all kinds of scary large animals, and they'd be chasing me, and I'd be running, and at that point I was not aware it was a dream, and I was scared. It felt real, and I would wake up and be sweating and be exhausted and being really emotionally just kind of distraught. I went through another period of time where I started to have these dreams that I was like going around my house, which it looked different every time, and locking all the doors, just being really scared that there was something outside that was going to get me, and then a person would come with either a gun or something like that. And then another period of time I would have all these really crazy, like, end of the world dreams. So I'd have dreams about plane crashes, helicopter crashes, tidal waves, very scary kind of end of the world kind of dreams. I went through a period of having dreams about these really, really terrible mass, just kind of, I don't, whatever. Lots of like mass, not murders, but just like massive kind of turmoil. So besides being really stressful and making me be afraid to even go to sleep, I just really had to figure out why were these dreams why was I having these dreams. It's not like I was watching things that, oh, it's obvious you watch this thing, this show, of course you're going to dream about it. No, I knew it was coming from somewhere else. So I started to dig really deep into dream interpretation, and a lot of the stuff, as soon as I said the dreams out loud, it was kind of like obvious to me what it meant, and what issue that was deep in my subconscious mind was trying to be healed or released. So, for instance, the locking of all the doors, I looked that up, and it's kind of like, oh, it was like I was guarded. So when I was trying to lock all the doors and make sure nobody could get in, I was at a point in my life where I had been really hurt, and I was literally guarded. I was afraid to let anybody in. And so it seemed so obvious, when you say it. It's almost literal. It's just taking form in a different kind of situation. Being chased by something large, this large vicious animal was ended up, being just an inferiority complex that I had been dealing with, and so what I noticed was these deep kind of psychological hurts were coming out whether I wanted them to or not. And since I wasn't dealing with them in the waking state, they were coming out in the dream state. So as I processed through this stuff, I just wanted a peaceful night's sleep. And I figured if maybe I could be aware in the dream that it was a dream, I could stop these from happening. So I dove deep into learning about lucid dreaming, and I found that there was a system for developing the skill of lucid dreaming. The first step is to be aware. Be aware that it's something that you can develop. It's something that you can control eventually, and all it takes is, first of all, the desire. So the first thing was that I would set an intention. So let's just say you're going to sleep tonight and you want to have to become lucid while you're dreaming. Set an intention. Say, tonight I'm going to become present and aware in my dream that I am dreaming. The next thing is that you want to have a journal close by, because you can start to journal your dreams, whether they were lucid or not. You start to journal them. A lot of people, including myself, thinks you're going to remember it in the morning, but most of the time we don't, or we lose certain details. So try, as soon as you wake up for the dream, just to jot it down. And over time, you'll start to develop, you'll start to see patterns, and you'll start to kind of notice, like, oh, you know what, I think I became maybe a little bit aware at that point. Right before I woke up, I became aware that I was dreaming, and that it was just a bad dream, and that I was trying to wake up. So if you're trying to wake up, you realize that it's a dream, right? And of course, there's, like in Inception, there's levels of dreaming, a dream within a dream within a dream, which I've had. But that's, obviously down the road. But so I started to kind of play with this and see if I could become lucid on purpose during a dream. So another kind of series of dreams I was having was, my mom did end up losing her battle to cancer, and she passed away. And I was having these reoccurring dreams that I would see her down in this little cabin in the woods, and that was like where she lived. And I would end up going to visit her, and I would, be really excited, and I would also be really upset, because I'd be questioning her, like, we all thought you were gone all this time, and here you are alive. Why haven't you, reached out to us or told us? And, the dream would go about, and she would kind of pretend like she doesn't know what I'm talking about, or, be very confused. And I'd wake up feeling really sad. And I remember the first time that I was able to actually become lucid in one of those dreams. It hit me, and I said, this is just a dream. This isn't real. And it seemed in the dream to break her heart, because at that moment I was saying that, I'm aware that I'm dreaming now, and this isn't reality. And I woke up, and it was just the strangest moment that I had in that dream, because as soon as I realized that I was really there, it became really real, and I actually kind of had this panic come over me, because there I was, present in the now, the real now, but it was in another consciousness. It was in another state. It was in the dream state, not the waking state. So in a sense, it is astral travel, because my body was not there, but it was being present in another reality, and being fully aware of my surroundings, being fully aware of what was going on. Flash forward to very recent, actually, when I started diving deeper into the Lemurian traditions and philosophies and beliefs and traditions. I learned that there was these different spaces that our soul resides, and all at different times of our incarnation. I learned about what's called the cave of creation. And so at a certain point, our soul, a fraction of our soul, resides there. And what I put together the pieces was that this spot that I kept visiting in my dream, where I kept seeing my mom, was the cave of creation. So, in fact, she really was there in a sense. Her soul was really there. So I really was visiting with her. I really was connecting with her. It wasn't just in my mind. It was our souls meeting in a certain place. And had I not, developed this lucid dreaming, I never would have had that kind of awakening and that perspective and experience. So from this whole experience came a really deep healing and a really peaceful knowing that, that she's okay, that she is eternal, that we are eternal, and that there are these different places where we reside. And we can do this simultaneously. We can do this at different points of our incarnations. But back to the lucid dreaming and why it's so important is because we, throughout the way society is designed today, we are unable to fully express authentically at all times. If you're at your job, it is not societally appropriate to go through healings that may come up in the moment, to share insights that may happen. You may be mistaken for being crazy or overly emotional if you're experiencing and releasing these real human emotions when they're happening. So we end up having to just kind of stuff this stuff down, and oftentimes we never address it. So that's when it starts to come out, when it can, through dreams, or when people are using mind-altering substances. A lot of times you'll see people have these emotional kind of breakdowns because there's no kind of guard. The conscious mind is on a break, and all this crazy stuff gets released, right? So through the process of becoming lucid, we can take control. And actually, I have a little challenge for you. So I had this thought, and it kind of opened up a new dimension for me. And the challenge that I give you is to practice your lucid dreaming. When you get to a point that you feel like you're actually able to become lucid more times than not in your dreams, I want you to try to go into a state of meditation. So next time you find yourself in a dream and you're able to become lucid and realize that you are dreaming, sit down and start a meditation. And the trippy thing about this is that when we meditate and when we go to that place in our subtle body, in our mind, in our soul, we are in the same place that we are in the lucid dream state. So if you learn to control your reality while you are lucid dreaming, and you're able to get to that place in your material reality, your waking state, what is the difference? So what is the difference between being in that mental creation state in your dream where you can create your surroundings and your reality, and being in the waking state and creating your reality? It's kind of a lot to think about. Hopefully I expressed that in a way that made sense and is blowing your mind, as it blew my mind when I first came up with the realization of the connection between the two, because really all of this is a dream state. Reality is a dream state. We are able to manipulate, to change, to control, to create our reality. And the more time we spend developing that connection and that ability, the easier it gets and the deeper we can go. And starting with lucid dreaming is a lot easier for our critical minds to conceptualize and to understand and believe is possible than in reality. So when we start to develop that and connect with that and find ourselves through that, through the dream state, it becomes a lot easier in the waking state to believe in these kind of miracles and the flexibility of energy. So I hope that gave you something exciting to try and to practice and to think about. Try that. Really try it. Really set the intention. Get your journal. Uh, try to journal your experiences afterwards, so you can build upon them um, and marinate in this for a minute. It's not always about skipping on to the next section and getting more information. It's really about trying these processes when you are at them, and it probably came to you on a day that is very important, and maybe you're dealing with something that can be addressed in this through this process. So. And I would love to hear how this stuff goes for you guys. Remember, you can always jump in the Facebook community, always jump on Instagram, share your experiences, email me, whatever it is. I want to hear how this stuff works for you. I want to hear what shifts you had, what insights you had. I want to hear about your trippy, crazy experiences that other people will laugh at and call you crazy for. I love that stuff, so I want to hear it, and I believe you. So let's dive into the next section as soon as you give this a fair chance to marinate, and I will see you there.